And we are live. Hello, Scribblers, and thank you guys so much for joining us for another exclusive chat. We are super, super excited because today we have not one, but two amazing speakers today, and y'all are going to get a wealth of information. Real quick, Caitlin from Scribbler, can you go ahead and say hi?
Hello, everyone.
Awesome, thank you. So Justine and Josh Floyd from IngramSpark, can you guys go ahead and just introduce yourselves real quick, as well as your position at IngramSpark?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Justine Bilo. I'm the Author Acquisitions Manager for IngramSpark, and I work with authors, helping them through the self-publishing journey. Go ahead, Josh. Oh, Josh?
Oh, we lost him.
Oh, we lost him. All right. So, usually my colleague Josh Floyd would be with us. He is our manager of business development for IngramSpark. Oh, there he is. He's back on.
Sorry, everybody, my connection dropped.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So my name's Josh. My name's Josh Floyd, and I am the manager of business development for IngramSpark.
Awesome.
Did go into a little bit of what we do. So I typically work with companies outside of Ingram to help integrate our services and connect with the folks in the industry that we need to be connected with.
Excellent. And there might be some writers who are listening who don't exactly know what IngramSpark does. So can you dive into a little bit more about what you guys offer at IngramSpark, services and things like that?
Absolutely. So IngramSpark, we started.
Sure. So IngramSpark.
I was going to say, so IngramSpark started about.
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, it started about 7-8 years ago, and it came as a development of Lightning Source. So working at Lightning Source, we were working with traditional publishers to get them into our print-on-demand systems for distribution through Ingram. And as we saw more and more self-publishing authors and indie authors and publishers trying to get into Lightning Source, we actually built IngramSpark as an interface for indie authors and indie publishers to interact with Lightning Source so that they could get their books into Lightning Source for print on demand, so that those books could be available for Ingram to distribute to their retail partners and library partners. And Justine, you can add to that all you like.
Yeah, and Ingram is one of the largest book distributors in the world. And hold on one second, there's a little noise. Sorry, I'm going to let this pass.
So what Justine was saying there is Ingram is one of the largest wholesalers and distributors of print and digital products in the world. We are the wholesaler to the online retailers, the brick and mortar stores, the libraries, the universities, the museums, the gift shops. Anywhere you see books sold typically has an Ingram account so that they have access to all of Ingram's titles. Ingram carries over 16 million titles from over 100,000 different publishers, and that includes the big five all the way down to an independent author. So by a retailer or a library having a relationship with Ingram and able to buy from Ingram, they're able to buy almost any publisher's title that they need on one invoice and one shipment.
So that's over 39,000 print distribution partners, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org, independent bookstores, libraries, you name it, we distribute there. And all of this is a one-stop shop, so you can upload your print and your ebook at the same time. And we distribute ebooks to now over 50 ebook platforms as well. And that includes Amazon, Apple, Kobo, and subscription services, libraries. And so it is a full-service self-publishing platform to get your books out into the world with using print on demand as the back end.
It's perfect. I love that you guys are talking about book distribution, because I think it's one of the things that writers, when they're thinking about starting a career, it's not something that you typically hear about until you kind of get into the back end of things. Anyways, so we're going to focus obviously on self-publishing today. So self-publishing and small press publishing have sort of developed this stigma, if you will, of being kind of the fallback option. But that is not the reality, as there are so many hybrid authors out there, and authors that strictly choose self-publishing over traditional. So from y'all's perspective, what are the benefits of self-publishing?
Oh, there are so many. I work with authors all day. That's my job. And many authors that are, even New York Times bestsellers choose to self-publish now because there are a lot of benefits. The one that I hear most is control. I am a very type A person. The people I work with are very type A most of the time, and control is a huge benefit. So you get control over who edits your book, what your cover looks like, and what you can price your book at. These are all factors where if you went with a traditional publisher, you wouldn't have control over. So the fact that they have the wherewithal to say, I want to work with this designer, or I want to make $14.99 my list price is a huge coup to them. The other factor is that they want to be publishers in addition to authors, which I think is a thing that you have to know going into it, that you are going to be a publisher in addition to an author. Do you have any other things to add, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely. To go back to the first part where you mentioned the stigma. So in my decade plus with Ingram, I was a bookseller rep to independent bookstores across 15 states. And when I first moved over from our print-on-demand world for publishers to the bookseller world, where I was actually selling to independent bookstores services and titles, you did see that stigma that was still there. And this was, like I said, this has been not even in the past decade. That stigma was still there. And what it was is they just equated poor quality printing to the self-publishing model. And so they just assumed, when I say they, I mean the booksellers particularly, assumed that if a book was self-published, it was poor quality. And if it was print on demand, it had to be even worse quality and had to be self-published, which is not true. All the traditional publishers, even the big ones, use us for print on demand, even for their backlist titles to make sure they never go dead. So when I would go into these bookstores, I could pick out print on demand titles on the shelves from standing at a cash wrap. And so I would show them that, look, print on demand is a technology that is used by all publishers, whether it's an indie author, a self-publisher, or a traditional publishing house. So that stigma there about the print on demand started to go away. Well, then as I was working with the bookstores and teaching them how to work with self-publishing authors and teaching authors how to work with independent bookstores, you start to see that bridge come together, that gap start to bridge. And what it is self-publishing titles actually sell extremely well in independent bookstores. Many of the stores I know, 2 out of their top 10 titles a year are a self-published title. And that's because the content is relevant to their communities that these authors are writing in. So the stigma behind self-publishing is definitely gone away. And now that the bookstores and the libraries know there's a technology like IngramSpark that allows these books to come through and be professionally printed, and that these authors are now becoming more and more savvy to their editing, to their cover design, and especially to their marketing and selling and ability to drive traffic to the store, I would say that stigma is dissipated. And I actually get outreach from libraries and bookstores who are wanting to know more about how they can carry the best producing self-published titles. And so I would say that stigma was there years ago, but it has since dissipated. And Justine brings up a good point in that IngramSpark has always been a two-way street. It's been a way for aspiring authors to get in who weren't able to get traditionally picked up, to get their work out there, show that their work is valid, show that it's relevant, show that it is marketable and able to sell. And a lot of times what happens is when people get really successful in self-publishing, those publishers that were first turning them down are now coming knocking on their door, offering them offers because they see how well these books are doing. And then the other half is the New York Times bestsellers and established authors who want to do projects outside of their scope or outside of their scope of their publishing house. So they become what we call hybrid publishers. They're still hybrid authors. They're still traditionally published through their houses, but they do the works and they're in the projects that their houses won't do via themselves through their own publishing houses within IngramSpark. So there's a lot going on in there and a lot of crossover of people coming in who have been successful and then folks who are trying to get their way to successful.
Yeah, the hybrid is kind of the dream.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's really important that, many writers know that self-publishing is not just putting your book out there on Amazon in an ebook format or, trying to ship out the books yourself. A lot of writers do have the dream of seeing their physical books in the bookstore. And I'm going to hop over to O. Briggs's question, which is, when it comes to distribution, how do self-published books get to the physical bookstores and on the shelves?
So with that, and that's kind of my background there, is so it's in your marketing and in your approach. So for instance, when you set your book up within IngramSpark, as Justine mentioned, you have control. You are the publisher of that book. So you have the ability to set the retail price. You have the ability to set the market discount, and you have the ability to set the return status. So if you were interested in having your books in bookstores, on bookstore shelves, the very first step you have to take is making sure that your book is set up with the proper terms for the bookstore market. So within IngramSpark, as we mentioned, you can set the retail price, but then we mentioned this market discount. The market discount is what you, the publisher, are offering Ingram, the wholesaler, so that Ingram can turn around and sell the book to the retailers at the price or at the discount that these retailers are used to getting. So a lot of times what happens in conversation is an author is talking to a bookseller who is interested in carrying the title. They hear that it's from Ingram, and then they look on iPage, and iPage is Ingram's catalog that all these retailers look through to find the books. And what they do is they look on iPage and see, well, the book is not the full discount that it needs to be. I am getting what we call a short discount. I'm not, as a bookseller, I'm not getting the same discount that I get on every other book I get from Ingram. And the reason being is that as a publisher, you have to set the book up with those terms so that Ingram can sell it to the retailers at that discount. So a lot of times as an author talking to a bookseller, the bookseller says, hey, I need at least 40% discount from Ingram. And what happens is the author goes into their IngramSpark account and puts the market discount at 40%. And then they're confused to why the bookstore is not getting 40%. Because what you're doing by placing that market discount is you're saying, hey, Ingram, I'm giving you the book at a 40% discount. Well, Ingram still has to make their margin too. So when they turn around and sell it to the retailers, they don't have as much margin to play with to give the retailer the full discount they're used to getting. So if you're ever talking to a bookseller and they say that I need my full regular discount or I need a 40% discount at least, in your IngramSpark account, you have to set that market discount at 53%. So what you're doing is you're saying, hey, Ingram, I'm going to sell you this book at 53% off so that you can sell it to your customer base at the discount they're used to getting. And that's the very first steps to getting into the bookstore market, is making sure that your book is set up for that. Bookstores also prefer the book to be returnable. When an independent bookstore buys a book and brings it in, they are literally taking that money out of their wallet, out of their purse to purchase this book in hopes that it will sell over another book that could be sitting on the shelf in its place. If that book does not sell, the bookseller needs a way to be able to recoup some of the money that they invested on this book that did not sell. So they like to see the book be returnable so that they know if that book does not sell, they still have an option to recoup some of their money by returning the book to Ingram. And that's why if you're going to be going to independent bookstores or Barnes and Nobles or any of, BAM's, the Books A Million, any of those bookstores that are physical retailers, you need to make sure that you have a full trade discount, which is 53%, and a return status. And what that does, it knocks down 3 barriers. They see that you are the book is published and available from Ingram. They see the book is at a regular discount, and they see the book is returnable. What that does, it knocks down 3 barriers of entry into the physical retail stores. Now, what matters is the content of the book, and can you drive sales of this book to our store or to our sites? And that's where you go into your publishing mode, and you're out of the, hey, I'm an author just trying to get in. Now I'm in, I've got everything set up. What can I do to show you that this book will sell?
I love getting to hear all this kind of behind the scenes stuff, because I think it shows writers just how much of a massive industry and business this is. And so, even self-publishing, there's just so much that goes into it.
Yes, absolutely. And I saw that one of the questions coming up was, what is one of the big misconceptions I think that self-publishing or self-publishers have?
Yeah.
And I would say the biggest misconception is that it's easy. Publishing is not easy. It's very hard work. That's why there's a whole industry built on it. That's why people go to school for it. That's why it's been around for centuries. It is a very in-depth, very wide scope industry that takes a lot to learn, and there's a lot of nuances into it. So it's very easy to get overwhelmed and frustrated, but know that you're not the only one, because it is a full-scale industry that you're just jumping into.
Not to mention it changes all the time. So it's like a constant education too. And so I always say that for writers who are trying to determine a path for themselves, like you have to decide if you want to just be an author or do you want to be a publisher too? Because if being a publisher excites you, going the indie self-publishing route is a really great way to go. It's an adventure. It gives you a lot of control. It gives you you're the publisher. You have final say. But if that does not excite you, the traditional route might be the way for you to go. So you have to be ready for the hard work that goes into being the publisher.
And even if the traditional route is not in your future, if you're just having trouble getting there, the thing about self-publishing is it's just a matter of how much work you personally want to do on your own project and how much of that you want to own. There are other companies out there that offer services to where you can buy a package and work with them, and they help you with the editing and cover design and all that good stuff. And those are expensive packages that are out there. What I always tell folks to do is look at what that package is, what they're really offering, and then determine how much of that can you really do yourself, even by hiring your own editor. If you go to IngramSpark.com and click on resources and click on experts, what you'll find there is a page of service providers who offer the services that we do not. You'll find editing companies on there, graphic designers, sales and marketing, copyright, crowdfunding. So you'll see all these companies on there that IngramSpark has vetted. We work with, we know that they do good work, and they offer discounts to IngramSpark customers. But you can go on there and see all these different companies that offer these different services and find the one that fits best for you. And then I would kind of price those out. I would say, okay, what would it cost for me to have somebody, one of these editing companies edit my book, work with a graphic designer to have it designed, and then I have it uploaded to my account. I own everything, and then I'll do my own marketing and selling, versus what maybe some of these other service providers who tell you that they'll take you from beginning to end are offering as a package. So it may be a big number, but if you were to do it as one-offs yourself, that number may be a lot less. So I just recommend just kind of doing your homework and being astute before you start spending any large sums of money. Because within IngramSpark, it's free to open the account. And we also have a promo code that we can give you, so it's free to upload your titles. Typically, it's $49 one-time fee to upload a print book, $25 one-time fee to upload an ebook, because we do both print and ebook distribution through Ingram within the IngramSpark account. But we can also provide a promo code that can be shared later that would waive those setup fees. So now it's free to open the account, free to set up your titles, and you wouldn't pay anything until you actually ordered print copies for yourself. So there again, just take the scope of the bits and pieces of what a service package may be, and see if doing it individually may be more cost efficient and leave you more in control of your business.
Absolutely. I want to jump really quickly to a question from writer BJ. It's a question that we get asked a lot at Scribbler, and that is, should people who self-publish do it under their own name as, a sole proprietor, or under an LLC?
So do not use your own name.
Do not. Please do not
use your own name. Yeah. So what happens? So for instance, like when you open an IngramSpark account, of course you're going to use your own name where it says legal name and entity. But when it says business name, that's where you're going to want to put whatever your publishing house is called. And if you have an LLC, definitely put the LLC in there and include that paperwork. But you don't have to have an LLC to call it whatever you want. So when I open an IngramSpark account, I could say Josh Floyd is my legal name, but my business name is, Pen Publishing, because there's a pen in front of me. That's the first thing I saw. So it's whatever you want to call it. It doesn't have to be an LLC for you to call your imprint or your publishing house, whatever it is you want to call it.
But I will say that if you are truly going to do this as a business, it is very easy to set up an LLC, and it is the right thing to do if you are truly going to do this as a business. You can go onto LegalZoom or one of those to easily set up an LLC, and it's just going to protect you as a business and an author. So if this is going to be a long-term plan for yourself, do yourself the favor and just set all of that structure up from the get-go.
And I agree with that, especially if you're going to be publishing other folks.
Correct.
I kind of want to shift gears a little bit to talking about marketing. I think, especially because, in this new COVID era, everybody has shifted to mostly completely online. And we have something in here from Julie Hutchings. She says, I find the hardest part of self-publishing is marketing, knowing all the outlets and who to use. What outlets do you guys think are best right now? Like, what's working best to put your marketing efforts towards?
Go ahead, Justine.
It's multi-pronged, honestly. And so you have to think of it on several fronts. So you're never going to avoid social media marketing. So I know that it is something that scares everyone, but it is really the way that you reach your readers. And there are smart ways to do it. Like, do not go and spend a ton of money, like full out on Facebook. Doing like testing and figure out who your readers are. Facebook spies on us, as we all know. And so you can truly start to figure out who your readers are. I'll give you an anecdote where there was a children's book that one of my authors was putting out, and she truly thought that her audience was moms. And after some Facebook ads and testing, she figured out that it was actually grandparents. And then once they figured that out, they ramped up the marketing a little bit more and started doing some more spends, and the book started selling a lot more. So in the beginning, do not spend a lot of money. Do testing to figure out that audience. You also, social media is very genre based. So romance is very Facebook oriented. Poetry is very Instagram oriented. You have to know where your readers live for that specific genre. Then once you have the social media covered, there are things like Amazon marketing. There are two types of ads that you can buy on Amazon. There are sponsored products and then related products. And again, these are knowing where your book fits in the microcosm of your genre. And so the more specific you can get in the more granular you can get with those ads, the better. So if you are writing sci-fi and you know specific comp titles and you know what other books your readers are searching for, you can start to get more eyes on those ads. I know you want to jump in there, Josh, don't you?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, one of the tips that I always try to give is because I'm not a social media person. I don't have any social media, so it's hard for me to preach about it. But Justine is correct that the best-selling independent authors and publishers are also very savvy and engaging with their readers through social media. But if social media is a little overwhelming to you, one of the best tips that I can give is, dedicate 15 or 20 minutes, whichever you're comfortable with, a day to social media. Turn the timer on and give it a good solid 15, 20 minutes. And when that timer goes off, quit. Don't make yourself get too overwhelmed and bogged down in the social media and then, just get disheartened by it. Just set yourself a certain amount of time a day that you're going to dedicate to social media and then be done with it till the next day if it's something that's a little overwhelming or new to you.
Yeah, or don't try to do all platforms at once. Like, dedicate your time to one specific platform. And the other tips that I like to give about marketing are if you're going to start marketing to bookstores or in libraries or try to get beta readers or things like that, there are other really great platforms like NetGalley and BookFunnel that you can get more eyes on your books as well. And they also have really neat features, especially BookFunnel, for getting your book out there and marketing it, especially when it comes to protected ebook distribution. So if you want to do pre-publish or pre-pub ebook reviews and things like that. So those are other platforms that are really cool to go look at. So those are my marketing tips.
And I would also recommend Edelweiss as well.
Yes,
Edelweiss is a nice package for independent authors and publishers to get your book out in front of about 70,000 booksellers and librarians and book reviewers and bloggers across the world.
That's super fascinating, especially about the platforms being genre-based. That's something I actually had no idea. And, to figure out those kinds of things, is it something that authors need to research deeply themselves, or are there, is it a trial and error kind of thing where you just go to the different platforms, see if your genre pans out there?
I think that it's kind of tapping into your genre on a whole. Like, for instance, if you're a romance writer, there are many associations for romance writers. There's a lot of writers groups. If you are writing that genre, go find those places, because you will learn a lot from them. And they are very willing to share those tips and tricks. Also, a lot of it's just spending time on those platforms and kind of figuring that out. So you may have to just make an Instagram account or make a Facebook account and start scrolling and looking for those author pages and seeing where those fans live. So part of it is going to be research on your part, and then part of it is going to be reaching out to the community that you're writing in.
And another way to do that too is, so for instance, you should all be networking amongst one another. Here you are all in one group that's connected, which is great. And Justine mentioned other associations based on genre that you could be a part of, which you absolutely should, because you're going to learn a lot. But you should also be networking with the people who are going through the same experiences as you are. So for instance, if we were in a room with physical folks, at the end, I would tell everybody, look around you. These are folks who are in the same spot as you, who are probably in the same path that you're going down. Network together, share your social media connections, cross your audiences, cross-pollinate with other authors who are similar genre that you are, who are successful. And if you have authors that that are in your genre that are successful, start following them on their social media platforms and watch how they engage with their authors, see which platforms they're using to engage with their author base. And it's a very good way to kind of hone in on maybe where you need to spend a little more time if you see the successful authors in your genre are spending their time on these different platforms.
Yeah, that's a great tip, Josh, because if you start really following those people and paying attention to them, you will absolutely get a feel for what they're doing.
Yeah, I think also I love that tip. It's just a general for if you love writing a certain genre and you want to get better at it, look at your favorite books in that genre and see what they've done, as you're reading it from beginning to end. And that's just a great way for getting better at writing. We have a question for the last one to close it out that I just personally love, because it's showing just how young some of our subscribers are and how determined they are to get better and get their foot in the door in this industry. So this one is from Lydia. It says, say you were 15, could you still self-publish, or do you have to wait until after college?
Lydia, we have a lot of children and teenagers who are doing great work creating books, and it's amazing when we were at live events like Book Expo, and folks would come to the booth, and you would see their 6 or 7 year old who had created this illustrated book. It was just amazing. But unfortunately, you have to be 18. So that does not mean that one of your parents could not open the account in their name and you provide the book as the author to the account.
Yes, and I totally agree with Josh that some of the content that I'm seeing coming out of people your age has completely blown my mind. I definitely was not creating content like that when I was 15. And so I look back at some of it and just cringe. And so I am in awe. So please, if you have a book that it needs to be out in the world, your parent can absolutely make that account and you can get it up on IngramSpark.
I love it. That's amazing. Well, you guys, we are pretty much out of time here. And so I just want to say real quick, thank you so much for joining us. This was literally so much information that is amazing, and so many things that I know that a lot of these subscribers hadn't heard of before. So this chat will be up for at least 60 days. So you guys, if you're listening, come back, listen to it again, take notes if you missed something. And also don't be afraid to reach out to IngramSpark. Get more information about all of this. So,
Josh, can you tell our subscribers, where to find IngramSpark if they do have more questions about this process?
Yeah, so you can go to www.ingramspark.com, and from the homepage, without even opening an account, you'll have access to our calculators. So you can click on resources and calculators, and there you'll find 2 different calculators that would be most important to you. One is the printing and shipping calculator. That way you can go in without even having an account. You can go in, put your book specs in, put the quantity and the ship to address, and hit calculate and see exactly how much it would cost you to order a certain quantity of books shipped to an address, and you can order all the way down to one unit with print on demand. The other calculator is the publisher compensation calculator. There again, you'll put in your book specs, you'll put in your retail price, you'll put in that market discount that I talked about earlier and hit calculate, and it'll show you what we're going to directly deposit into your account every single time one of your books sells per unit. So those are two calculators that are available there under resources. Also under resources is the Academy. So if you go there, that's something that our marketing team has put together. What we've done is taken all of our blogs and newsletters and industry professional advice that we've gotten over the years, and the marketing team actually created a college-style publishing class. It's free to take. There's different chapters, there's different quizzes on different types of topics within the industry that you can go in. So it's a real live type of class that you can take for free to learn about publishing. And then also under the there, you'll find the podcast. Justine and Robin, and now Justine, since Robin has retired, host a podcast on self-publishing. It's called Go Publish Yourself. It's one of the top-rated self-publishing podcasts that are available. It's available anywhere you listen to podcasts. But on those podcasts, they're 15-minute bursts of where Justine brings in an industry professional to talk specifically about a certain topic, whether it's selling to independent bookstores, selling to libraries, selling to Barnes & Noble, metadata, how to build a readership. And then also within those podcasts, Justine does a highlight series where she actually speaks to some of our best producing indie authors and has them talk about how they did what they did and how they got to where they got. So there's a lot of free information there that is available for you to go in and just digest it at your own will to learn a lot about the publishing industry and how to navigate it.
I will also plug our social media. You can find us at Instagram at IngramSpark Books. And once a month, I host an Instagram Live called Coffee with Justine, where I will talk about a topic. And then you can rapid fire ask me questions for the rest of the episode. And so if you have any burning questions, please try to tune in for Coffee with Justine, and I will try to answer any questions that you may have. And I will apologize in advance for the podcast because you have to listen to me for hours on end. But these are all resources that are free that you can access to learn more about publishing and more about IngramSpark.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, you guys. This was amazing. We're so glad y'all joined us today.
Thanks for having us.
So thank you for joining, everybody.